Joe Biden just scored a major endorsement. Former Republican Congressman Adam Kinsinger put out a video endorsing Biden and throwing his full weight behind him for the November election. That's a pretty big deal. But it's Adam Kinzinger's comments on CNN after the video came out that have got a lot of people talking. I'll go over the endorsement video and Adam's comments right now. Adam Kinzinger made a name for himself as one of 2 Republicans on the January 6th Select Committee. He proved that you can go against your party and stand for what's right in pushing back against Donald Trump. And since then, he's been a vocal critic against Trump any chance he gets. And now he's put out a video endorsing Joe Biden. Let's take a look at the video because I think it's pretty powerful.
I'm Adam Kinzinger and I'm a proud conservative. I always have been. As a proud conservative, I've always put democracy and our Constitution above all else. And it's because of my unwavering support for democracy that today, as a proud conservative, I'm endorsing Joe Biden for re-election. My entire life has been guided by the conviction that America is a beacon of freedom, liberty, and democracy. So while I certainly don't agree with President Biden on everything, and I never thought I'd be endorsing a Democrat for president, I know that he will always protect the very thing that makes America the best country in the world, our democracy. Donald Trump poses a direct threat to every fundamental American value. He doesn't care about our country. He doesn't care about you. He only cares about himself, and he'll hurt anyone or anything in pursuit of power. We saw that when he tried to overturn an election that he knew he lost in 2020. He attacked the foundation of this nation, encouraging a violent mob of his supporters to march on the Capitol to prevent the peaceful transition of power. Now he's become even more dangerous. He's called for termination of the Constitution. He wants to be a dictator on day one. He actually said that. And he's continuing to stoke the flames of political violence. There's too much at stake to sit on the sidelines. So to every American of every political party and those of none, I say now is not the time to watch quietly as Donald Trump threatens the future of America. Now's the time to unite behind Joe Biden and show Donald Trump off the stage once and for all.
I love Adam's message of unity. We're going to need everybody if we're going to get Joe Biden across the finish line. That includes independents, moderates, Republicans, you name it. It's not going to be an easy re-election for Joe Biden, but we can do it if we're united. And Joe Biden was quick to thank Adam Kinzinger for his support, tweeting out the following. This is what putting your country before your party looks like. I'm grateful for your endorsement, Adam. Now, shortly after the video came out, Adam went on CNN to explain his endorsement. And the first question he got was a brilliant one. Why now? The timing is so important. Listen to Adam's response.
Why announce today?
I mean, it just feels right. Look, we're getting ready to really hit the heat of the general election. I think it's really important for people to understand, particularly the 20% of, let's just call them the 20% of Haley voters, for them to understand that this is a stark choice. This isn't just, you know, who do I agree with more on certain issues? I actually don't even really know where Donald Trump stands on many issues. But this is about, does democracy survive the way we love it, or does it not? Do we continue to change these standards? I lived through January 6th. I didn't watch it on TV. I was there, and I have a 2.5-year-old kid that I do not want raised in a country where things like that are okay to happen. So for me, it's just, we've got to put decency above maybe political differences, and it's just the right thing to do.
I think it's smart that Adam's reminding people that up to 20% of Republicans are still voting for Nikki Haley in GOP primaries months after she dropped out. Clearly, there's a large group within the Republican Party that is unhappy with Donald Trump and looking for an alternative. So to hear from high-profile Republicans like Adam Kinzinger saying that he's going to vote for Joe Biden, I think that has some sway with that group, which is 1 in 5 Republican voters. It's also interesting that Adam brings up January 6th. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, independent, you can understand how terrible that day was for our country. And Donald Trump played a central role in it happening. He manipulated our fellow Americans with his lies, and he'll do it again if he gets anywhere near power. So people like Adam Kinzinger realize they have to press pause on their policy pursuits. And while they may not agree with the Democratic Party on much, they understand the threat that Donald Trump is and are putting their support behind Joe Biden. I love the next question Adam got from CNN. He was asked if he struggled at all in making this endorsement. And I think there's a lot of people out there unsure what to do. Listen to his great response.
Did you wrestle with this decision? What did you wrestle with most in making this choice?
I mean, I guess I wrestled to the extent of like, okay, endorsing a Democrat as a Republican is a big deal. But to me, it wasn't much of I didn't have to look in the mirror and look into my soul or anything like that. I have spent the last few years on a committee, the last couple years in Congress, looking at the direct link between Donald Trump and what happened on that terrible day. And I hear the acidity, the acrimony that comes out of, many people who are supporting Donald Trump and some of the people around Donald Trump, because he's created a culture of just anger and division.
A lot of people are starting to remember just how angry and divisive Donald Trump was as president and continues to be to this day. And people don't want to go back to those times. One of the best things that Joe Biden has done is bring down the temperature in America, and I really appreciate that.
And for me, it wasn't a hard thing to say, look, I really put a lot on the line when I decided to go on the January 6th committee. I'll do it at this because this is truly the most important election of my lifetime. And I want, like I said, my kid Christian to be raised in a country where decency in the greatest office in the land is still something that people look up on, and not have a president that continues to punch down because he's such a whiny, weak victim that he's scared to death of anybody that says anything mean about him like Donald Trump does.
That was Adam Kinsinger just getting warmed up on his attacks against Donald Trump. Watch what he says next in the interview when asked what if all this effort that you're doing leads to nothing? He doesn't think that's the case. And in fact, he thinks people are starting to see that the emperor has no clothes. Watch this.
If nothing happens here, if there's no change, if no Republican votes for Joe Biden, which I don't see that happening, by the way, I think many will, it goes to show that we are in such a tribalistic moment that even decency can't beat out a man who only cares about himself. And that man who cares about himself is, by the way, again, the most complainiest, bellyachiness. He was president of the United States for 4 years, the most powerful man in the world, and yet he's the victim of every plot everywhere. Everybody's out to get him. He can't defend himself. I think there's a lot of Republicans that when they realize it, don't want to follow a man who's a constant victim, a complainer, and as weak as Donald Trump really is.
A lot of people seem to only remember the good times under Donald Trump. Now, I don't think there were any good times, but some people seem to believe so with things like $2 gas. Meanwhile, the reason why we had $2 gas was because our economy collapsed due to Trump's ineptitude at leading us through the pandemic. But I digress. I don't kid myself that we're going to win over a bunch of Republicans and they're all going to come voting for Joe Biden, even though I think they should if they knew what was really going on. That being said, we just need to pull a small sliver of these Republicans over to our side to win. So it's not worth fighting with every single hardcore MAGA guy with 64 Trump flags on his front lawn. It's about talking to the decent people that we all live next door to and having them join us in supporting Joe Biden so our country can continue to move forward and we don't go backwards with Donald Trump becoming president once again. I appreciate Republicans like Adam Kinsinger coming forward, putting their party to the side and putting America first to support Joe Biden for president.